Welcome to episode 2 of our series on the War of 1812, the decision for war. In this episode, we'll explore the complex web of events that led to the United States' decision to declare war on Great Britain. As we saw in our previous episode, rising tensions, the years leading up to the War of 1812 were marked by increasing tensions between the United States and European powers, particularly Great Britain. The British Navy's impressment of American sailors, the seizure of American ships and cargo, and the trade restrictions imposed by the British Orders in Council all contributed to a sense of frustration and anger among the American people. One group that was particularly vocal about the need for action against Great Britain was the War Hawks, a faction of young nationalistic politicians who were determined to assert American sovereignty and expand the country's territory. Led by figures such as Henry Clay and John Calhoun, the War Hawks argued that the United States had been too passive in the face of British aggression, and that it was time to take a stand. In 1811, the War Hawks gained control of Congress and began to push for a more aggressive policy towards Great Britain. They argued that the British Navy's impressment of American sailors was a violation of American rights, and that the country had a duty to protect its citizens. They also claimed that the British were interfering with American trade and providing support to Native American tribes who were resisting American expansion. The War Hawks' efforts were bolstered by the British government's refusal to repeal the Orders in Council, which had been imposed in 1807 to restrict trade with France. The British government argued that the orders were necessary to prevent the French from receiving goods and supplies, but the Americans saw them as an attempt to strangle their economy. In November 1811, the U.S. Congress passed a resolution calling for the preparation of a declaration of war against Great Britain. The resolution was sparked by a series of incidents, including the seizure of American ships and cargo and the impressment of American sailors. It also cited the British government's refusal to repeal the Orders in Council as a major grievance. As tensions continued to escalate, President James Madison began to prepare for war. He ordered the expansion of the U.S. military and the construction of new ships to challenge the British Navy. He also called for the formation of state militias to provide additional troops in case of an invasion. Meanwhile, on the western frontier, the conflict between American settlers and Native American tribes was escalating. Tecumseh's Confederacy had been resisting American expansion into their lands, and the U.S. government had been attempting to assert its control over the region. In November 1811, Governor William Henry Harrison of Indiana Territory led a military expedition against the Shawnee tribe, which ended in the Battle of Tippecanoe. The battle was a decisive victory for the Americans, but it also marked a turning point in the conflict between the United States and Native American tribes. Tecumseh's Confederacy began to weaken, and many of its leaders were forced to flee or go into hiding. The U.S. government saw this as an opportunity to expand its control over the region and to assert its authority over the Native American tribes. As we can see, the decision to declare war on Great Britain was not taken lightly. It was the result of years of escalating tensions, economic hardship, and a sense of frustration and anger among the American people. The War Hawks' efforts to push for a more aggressive policy towards Great Britain had finally paid off, and the country was now poised on the brink of war. In our next episode, we'll explore the early battles of the War of 1812, including the disastrous invasion of Canada and the burning of Washington, D.C. by British troops. We'll also examine the impact of the war on American society and the economy, and how it ultimately contributed to the growth and development of the United States. That's all for today. Join us next time on History with Herodotus as we continue our series on the War of 1812.